Hi everyone and welcome to episode 119 of the Talk is Cheap show. We are live here in North London in the AFTV salubrious surroundings, and I've got with me two modern day juggernauts of social media. Starting to my left, Mr. Blackademics himself.
Come on.
What can I say about this man that hasn't been said before other than that he's a titan in the place? Mr. Jordan Jarrett Bryan.
What are you saying, bro? You good?
I'm good, man. I myself looking forward to this one.
Yes, me too.
And sat to his right, yeah?
My left.
Oh, your left.
Sorry.
My left and right mixed up. This is what these guys are doing to me. I'm starstruck. To my far right, Mr. Curtis Shaw of Curtis Shaw TV in the house. What you saying, bro? Give me a pound.
What's happening, bro?
How are you today, man?
I'm good, man. Happy to be here.
It's good to be back for me, man. Last week, as you guys may know, I took a little bit of a sickness, bit of a sickness break. COVID for the second time. But yeah, I'm back, man. I'm feeling good.
Back in full health.
I'm back in full health.
Yeah,
the second time around, because this is the second time I've had it,
Oh, wow.
wasn't as debilitating as the first time around. I just felt a little bit unwell for a few days. But hey, man, I'm back now and I'm looking forward to this. So let's start off by setting the scene. A quick review of Arsenal's last game. Now, last weekend, Arsenal at home to Brighton. Now, this was supposed to be the comeback from the setback. A lot of people, myself included, were looking at this game and thinking, okay, we've had that blip against Palace, even though it was a poor performance. But I'm thinking, you know what? If we get off to a good start, get an early goal, who knows, man, this could be a real thumping. Because Brighton were coming into the game, let's face it, on poor form. They'd not won in, 7 games?
Yeah.
1 draw, hardly scoring a goal, missed a penalty in the previous game. So I'm looking at this game, I'm thinking, logically speaking, man, we should be all right. And if we beat Brighton, everything's back on track. But it looked like Brighton didn't read the script, bro. And what can I say? Well, in fact, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to start with you two guys. Let's start with Jordan. He's our special guest here. What was your thoughts on the game? Try and keep it brief, because we've got lots to talk about.
Similar to you, I think after the back of the Palace game, if Arsenal could have hand-picked a home fixture against any team in the league, they're probably one of 3 or 4 teams you'd probably pick.
Real talk.
I said as part of the guys, we do it on the VIP app, me, Turkish, Lee and James. Off the back of the Palace game, I said that it was essential that we beat Brighton. We had to beat them. The Palace result was a bad one. It was a really bad one for multiple reasons, but it wasn't terminal.
No.
For me, it was about the reaction. You can lose a game on the day it doesn't go your way, fine. But you have to win the next game and Southampton, because then you win the next 2 games. The Palace game then is a one-off. You can forget that. It was a bad day, we move. We're still in the mix. You lose back-to-back games and then you're in big trouble. And as you say, to lose at home, we've been really good at home. Brighton can't score against anyone. They're scoring 2 again. I said on the pod, you just know they're gonna turn up at the Emirates and turn into 1970s Brazil and just bang goals. And I predicted a Welbeck hat trick. That would be typical. Do you know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question that me and Curtis were talking about. Be honest now.
Go on.
Had you heard of Enoch Mwepu before he played Arsenal?
No, I had.
Oh, you had?
Yeah, he's a decent player. No, I had.
Because I'll be honest, I didn't know too much
But he
about
turned into Rivaldo, you know what I mean, on that game.
Yeah.
And it was poor. Tactically, I thought we got it wrong. I thought the goal we scored at half-time was disallowed. I was at work and I said to the guys in the studio, we need this to go our way, because we're reviewing.
Yeah.
I said, we need this, because I can't see us scoring. We're not going to break them down. So we need a lucky goal, a scrappy goal. We need this goal to go in. When they disallowed it, I feared then, because I just couldn't see us. I couldn't see us scoring any goals, and we got a goal in the end through pressure. It wasn't through quality. It was just through pressure.
A big deflection, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a bad loss. We'll get on to how bad a loss it is, but it was really, really bad.
It was poor.
It was bad because we lost the Palace game as well. It was compounded a really bad week, and then to see Spurs win a couple of hours later.
Didn't just win, man.
They look
Put
good.
beat down on Villa. But yeah, man. Over to Curtis now. I watched some of your watch along, and I saw your subsequent interview with AFTV, and I found it both informative and I have to say highly entertaining. But you are not a happy man with it.
No.
Tell the people what you thought of the game.
I mean, like you said, this was the game that we all thought, this is how we bounce back. I agree with you, apart from probably Norwich. This is the game I would have picked. Man said United, but you know what? I didn't even get 1 hour to enjoy Man United's defeat. They lost to Everton. I thought, and then I'm like, oh, we're losing. Oh, man. You know what I mean? So I just couldn't believe the performance. I got to be honest, Crystal Palace was painful, but we could sort of see that was a possibility with Palace. They roughed us up. They were a little bit more streetwise than us. But Brighton, I was like, come on, at home against Brighton, like you said, they're not scoring goals, they're not winning, they're kind of on the beach. Literally on the Pebble Beach at the back of the stadium. But
they actually came off Brighton Beach for the game.
Slapped us up,
and picked up the towels and said, "Oh, it's game time.
Got to go to the Emirates and get 3 points." But no, for me, I thought the manager got it tactically horrible. You know, we lost Partey and Kieran Tierney. I think the last thing you do is weaken your midfield further. And you know me, I'm not a fan of Granit Xhaka at all, but
I think that's an understatement.
yeah, but listen, you don't take him out of the midfield, throw Sambi in there with 2 number 8s. Nuno Tavares, for me, I mean, how do you play him for the rest of the season now with his confidence? You know, he's been dragged off the last 2 games. You got no left back. He's your only available one, and you play a midfielder ahead of him. Substitutions for me were too late, bringing Pepe on for 16 minutes. I was shocked he didn't make a change at half time.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that.
You know, I
was looking at that game, and at half time I'm thinking, surely, because we were that bad. And yeah, but sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, it's true.
you,
But and like you said, for me, that Martinelli one, I was like, please, because if we go in 1-1, we can turn the tide here. You know what I mean? But they knew we're still 1-0 up. We still had a lot to do, and I think we ran out of ideas in the end. I got to be honest. I think we ran out of ideas, and that was such a untypical Arsenal goal. You know, Odegaard shooting from 30 yards. That's something we kind of don't do. It was desperate, and look, it was a good goal. I know it was a deflection, but you're thinking that last 10 minutes we kind of turned the heat up. Why did we not do that earlier on in the game? And for me, I got to be honest, that was one of the most disappointing results of the season for me, because I feel like a lot of the other defeats, you could say City, Liverpool, they're better than us. Brentford, all right, we had players out with COVID that game. This was, you know, Brighton, out of form, at home, sunny afternoon. For me, there was no excuse for it. And,
I'll tell you what I found particularly concerning about that defeat is because, as I hinted at earlier, the previous game against Palace, like you quite rightly said, you could kind of see where that might happen. We're away to Palace, it's a Monday night. You know Palace, it's the first game after the international break. You know Palace, it's a London derby, you know they're going to come hard. They had a couple of their players that had been called up for England. So the vibe around Palace, and they were going a good run of form going into that game as well. So the vibe was there for the upset, as it were. And to be fair to Palace, they came out the traps hard, they ambushed us, and the rest is history. We lose that game. Very disappointing, humbling performance. But then I'm trying to be positive. I'm looking at this game now against Brighton. I'm thinking, yeah, man, at home, Saturday afternoon, the whole vibe is going to be different. But it just, right from the start, man, even the crowd, I've got to say, man, it seemed a bit flat in it.
It did sound a bit flat.
Testimonial settings,
and I have to say, man, it was quite humiliating.
And you said then that with the Palace game, go back to that one, you could kind of see where that was coming, and you gave the reasons why. But we'll get on to Arteta, I'm sure, in a little bit, and you know that we'll get into it. And you know, and the people watching know, I'm an Arteta fan, I'm a supporter, but we'll get to that. But the fact that I think we all knew it's a home game for Palace, they're on form, it's an evening game on a Monday, they've got 2 players that are bouncing because they've been called up to the England squad. All those things we all knew before the game. Why didn't Arteta have his team prepared and say, listen guys, you've heard out there what it's like at Selhurst Park, it's loud there, they are up for it. Vieira's in the other dugout, he knows his team inside, they're going to be up for it. Why didn't Arteta prepare the team for all those elements that we knew? That was for me disappointing, and that he should have known his team talk wasn't more tactical, it was more compete. You have to deal with the first 20 minutes, it's going to be loud, physical, they're going to be up for it. Ride that first half an hour, and I think we'll be all right. But we got battered and bullied as if he hadn't said to them. It's like he said to them,
not everywhere we go, where we got battered.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only thing that I would say there, do you think it was more a case of the players just couldn't cope with it? I'm actually defending Arteta a bit.
Maybe,
Do you know what I mean?
But then I would say it's his job, and that maybe goes to the point of experience. Maybe if you have 3 or 4 more experienced players, they can maybe deal with that.
A bit more,
we can bring it on, maybe.
Yeah.
But I see it as Arteta's job to prepare these guys to say, look, you're going to be in for a battle. This is not today. Ain't about pretty football. Saturday against Brighton at home at 3 p.m. the sun's out. We can pass them off the pitch. We did in the end, but tonight we're going to have to battle, and we didn't battle.
So, but then how do you explain then that we suffer such a poor performance? Okay. Well, actually, maybe there is an explanation, as you just said. Palace were mega up for it. Monday night, it was always going to be difficult. London derby, blah blah blah. But then, how do we explain what happened at the weekend against Brighton? That, to me, that was inexplicable. Curtis, how do you begin to pick the feathers out of that, man? What?
For me, I think
how could that have happened?
I think you're starting to see the product of this youngest squad in the league thing that he keeps talking about. We got the youngest squad in the league. And I think a lot of the pressure this season has been put on our young players. You know, a lot of our games have been won by your Sakas, your Smith-Rowes, your Martinellis and so on. And I think at times when you've got young players that have never been in that position, now this is crunch time now. Can you get Arsenal over the finish line? Can you get them in the top 4? You've seen Smith-Rowe the last couple of games. Doesn't look the same player. I don't know if he's tired. Is he running out of ideas? Saka hasn't looked quite the same the last couple of games. Martinelli, they're doubling up on him all the time now. You're relying on young players to consistently win you games. You've got a striker that's not scoring goals. So it's not like Lacazette bangs a few goals in and takes the pressure off them. So in reality, if our young players don't score, we don't win.
And then we should also, to be fair to Arsenal, factor in we've had 2 injuries to 2 significant players. Senior players as well.
I'm not going to give them that much of an excuse.
You don't think that's?
I think it's relevant, but it's Brighton. I'm sorry, it's Brighton at home.
And they had players missing as well.
I think we're being a bit kind there to Arsenal.
No, I thought I should just mention that because it is a fact. Don't mention it.
You've got to be able to handle 2 injuries, aren't you, in the Premier League?
I'm sorry, they're 2 key players. Admit that.
No, but I think it's fair to mention it. Shall I tell you why? Because 2 senior players. I mean, you spoke about the pressure on the young guys. These were injuries to 2 players, senior players, and 2, let's be honest, 2 players have been playing very well recently. So for them to suddenly not be around can affect things, don't you think?
If you get a draw, maybe, but to lose? I'm sorry. I mean, it didn't look like scoring as Curtis said the whole game. So I don't think you could say we played really well, but you could see on our left side, because our main left back was there, we were getting... We just wasn't good all over the park. So
the energy was off. Although interesting, if you look at the stats, I think it's something like we had 20 shots on goal to the 8. But as we always say, statistics, lies and stuff like that. So no, it was poor, man. And I think enough said about that. The thing now is, and this is the main theme, the central theme of this show is, what happens now? What I want to ask you guys is, A, can we turn it around? And B, is Arteta, can he do it? Is he capable? Has he got what it takes to turn it around? Now, let's start with Jordan. We know he's an advocate of Mr. Arteta. And I'm not saying that in a way to be...
It's a loaded question, that is.
No, but you know what? I'm going to keep it real. But I'm going to keep it real. Over the weekend, in my COVID state, I was thinking ahead. And I was thinking, we've got to get Jordan on the show. And I'll tell you why, because you're a man, A, you know your football, you're experienced, you're articulate, and of course, you're a known and keen advocate of Mikel Arteta. And as soon as that game was finished, there was a lot of naysayers, I'm not going to lie. A lot of people were, throwing questions and saying, listen, man, has this man got what it takes? And I thought, you know what, we've got to get Jordan on the show to see what he has to say.
So I think, first of all, before I answer the question, I think, in fact, I know there are a section of the fan base that are lining up and waiting for Arsenal to finish 5th so they can pile in on Arteta. You see? And my big thing, I've been on this show a few times this season, guys. My big thing is, if you're not an Arteta supporter and you don't think he's the right guy for Arsenal Football Club, I can accept that. I understand the flaws that he has, which may make an Arsenal fan think he's not good enough or right for us. I can accept that. And if you're consistent with that view, I don't have a problem with that. I don't agree with it, but I can see that. My problem is the.
So you don't think they're hating you know what I mean?
I think there's people that have an agenda, and if Arteta doesn't get top 4, they're going to pile in with machine guns. But if he does get top 4, it will just be well done. So my thing is just be consistent with the energy. Because the same people that aren't fans of his, if he does pull this off and get top 4, they won't be giving him machine gun positive energy. But if he doesn't get top 4, they're going to pile in. So, and those are the people for me that are just flipping and flopping week on week for content. They're the people that when we're winning games, we're getting top 4, it's coming, it's happening. And then when he loses the game, get him out, he's rubbish, I told you. And I'm like, those people I've got no time for. If you're not an Arteta fan, I can talk with you and we can discuss it, and I see many flaws in Arteta. I'm not blinded to the flaws. But I don't like the fan base that are just almost, that they're waiting for us to mess up so they can jump on. Having said that, I don't think we'll get 4th now. I don't think you can turn it around.
You heard it here first, people.
I don't think we can, because 2 reasons. One, I just think Antonio Conte has the bit between his teeth now, and I don't see him letting up now. I think he's going to be doing from here on in what we should have been doing a week ago. We're in charge, hang on to it. We're going to hang on to it and pull away.
Although it's interesting you mentioned Antonio Conte, because a few weeks ago there was that famous meltdown when he was almost inviting the Tottenham board to sack him. Saying, hopefully, I don't think I'm good enough.
And I reckon he probably went in the boardroom the next day, batted them all up and said, listen, if you don't fix up, I will walk. And we know that he will walk. Do you know what I mean? I just don't think he'll get it for that reason. And the other reason I don't think we'll get it is because the buffer that we accumulated with the wins that we had in the last 5 or 6 games, people were saying, Spurs have got a nicer run in. You've still got to play Chelsea, Spurs and United. My view was always, but the buffer we've got, we can afford to lose those games. We can afford to lose those games and still be worst case level. Now that buffer's gone. So the reason why I don't think we'll get 4th is because we're in a position now whereby we're losing the easy games. We're going to have to get at least 4 points from Chelsea and Spurs. At least, and I just don't see that happening.
We've got to get past Southampton. We'll talk about that in a bit. But let me come to my man Curtis. Now, by contrast, I think it's fair to say, Curtis, that you've never been the biggest advocate for Arteta. You haven't dissed him, and I know because we've had.
I've seen the Twitter feed, bro. I've seen the Twitter feed.
No, I dissed him on Saturday. No, but I'm speaking like hitherto. I'll get my water here. But to be fair to Curtis, I've always considered that he wasn't 100% on and getting the job, but when he has done good things, he has come out and given credit. So it's not like he's hating for the sake of it. But anyway, I don't want to speak for you, bro. Like, after Saturday, what is your thoughts? Can this man turn it around? Does he have what it takes to get things back on a positive tip again? Can we get 4th place?
I mean, look, 4th is still possible. We're only 3 points off, and I think we've still got a game in hand. Our game in hand is Chelsea. I'm kind of a similar feeling to Jordan at the moment, in that I feel like Conte's probably not going to let go of this situation that he's in. You looked at Palace, Brighton, Southampton as 3 games where I thought we could possibly get 9 points there before we go into that kind of crazy run we've got. And like you said, it would have given us the freedom to, all right, maybe we can lose one and still be in a good situation. So our safety net's gone there, which has put the pressure on him. Look, you look at the moment and you think Tottenham have got an elite manager, their 2 best players are on form, and they've got an easier run. All of that would probably say they're definitely favourites. We're clinging on to that hope that can they Spurs it up? Can they drop points against teams you didn't expect? Having said that, we've still got to take advantage, even if they mess up. Our striker's out of form, our left back is injured, our midfielder's injured, Tomiyasu, we don't know when he's coming back. So we're in a difficult situation, but having said that, it's not impossible. It doesn't look likely to me at the moment, because I don't know how you just turn that round all of a sudden. You haven't really got any other option apart from the starting 11, maybe 1 or 2 on the bench. So it's difficult.
It is difficult. But let me throw my 2 cents in here, and this is something that I observed when I was in my COVID state last week. And I know I'm going to get stick for this, but I feel compelled to bring it up. So I'm watching that game on Saturday, as I've watched all the games, but I've noticed there's been a trend in recent weeks. We are not scoring goals. There's problems with us scoring, in particular up front. As much as I love Laka, he's just not putting the ball in the back of the net. I think it's like 1 goal in 16 games, is it? 17. And I'm thinking that is a clear and present problem that we have. And I'm at home, right? And I wake up on Monday morning, I switch on the TV, and it's on
Don't
Sky.
do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I've got to go
Don't
there, bro.
do it.
You know where I'm coming
Don't
from.
do it,
but I've got to.
He's
Hear
on.
me
He's
out.
on a flight to Barcelona.
Don't do it.
I turn on the
Laurie.
TV, bro, and the first thing I see is Aubameyang heading in from close range and scores again. And the guy that's presenting the show saying, Aubameyang's 10th goal in 12 games. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, rah. I can remember when I was saying to certain men, not so much you, but people who work in this environment and say, listen, this man is not finished. He's on a poor run of form. We just need to stick by him and ride it out because he will come good again. And everyone shouted me down. I said, okay. He left, and so the narrative was, listen, man, he's gone, forget about it. But I have to say, bro, and I'm not the only one, and I know, and don't say Piers Morgan either, but there's loads of people that are looking at that and they're thinking, rah, we're not scoring. We let this man go, who's like an all-time record goal scorer for Arsenal. His stats are excellent. No matter what you want to say about his tardiness, if you look purely at the goal stats, he's up there with the very best we've ever had. Look, he's not convinced.
He's in pain there, you know.
I'm going to respectfully let you finish.
I'm going to finish very quickly. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, rah, no goals in the team. Like we said, Lacazette, 1 goal in 17. Eddie's not scored all season. We let this man go. We didn't bring anyone else in. I'm like, rah. In hindsight, was that the best decision? Now, I'm not even going to let you answer that, but I'm going to go to my man, Kurt.
Let me cool that first.
But listen,
He got steam coming off his head, bro.
No, but I know I'm going to get stick for this, you know, because they've come for me already. But listen,
I
bro,
don't think you will. I think you're in the majority, which is the problem. But I'll
and
get
I'm
to
not
that.
gloating, people. It's just it's an obvious observation, isn't it? Because the man's banging them in. I think I saw a comment from Xavi the other day describing Aubameyang as like a gift from God. Those was his exact words. And I'm thinking, all this is going on while we can't buy a goal. Curtis.
I mean, listen,
I feel
I've
bad, yeah.
spoken about you. You've kind of stitched me up here because
I had to mention
I try not to mention this guy's name anymore because it triggers people. I mean,
It does. They're going to come after me in the
I
comments.
mean, look,
so-
what can I say? He's gone to Barca and banged goals in. Did he need a change of environment? Did he need a different... I just think him and Arteta wasn't working. Now, whether you put that blame down to the manager or you put it down to him, the style of play, those two weren't working. When you're in that kind of environment, sometimes it doesn't work. Now, I saw somebody yesterday saying how Mancini fell out with Tevez at Manchester City when he banished him. He came back. Apparently, the chairman said, look, we have a truce till the end of the season. He banged goals in and then he left. Could Arteta and Aubameyang have done that? I don't know. We don't know the full details. My biggest problem has always been not replacing him. And I don't think any Arsenal fan can complain about that because Lacazette has not scored goals all season. Eddie hasn't scored goals. That, for me, is the bigger issue. Letting Aubameyang go is looking like a big mistake at the moment. But the facts are he wasn't playing well at Arsenal.
No,
now, whether that was
I'll concede
him,
that.
the
I'll concede
style,
that.
however, it just wasn't adding up. I'm a massive Aubameyang fan. I didn't want him to leave. But my bigger issue was with not replacing him. And I think I actually think that decision will cost us 4th place.
Well, I was going to say that if we don't get it, there's going to be a lot of people looking at that. But anyway, listen, it's only right that we give him the right to reply. Jordan Jarrett Bryan,
so this-
I'll put it on you, man.
All these, you and Curtis, all these Arsenal fans I keep hearing telling me about Aubameyang's top scorer in Barca, Aubameyang's banging again in Barcelona. I want to just smash my head through the wall when I see these tweets and stats. If I'm married to a woman, okay, for 10 years, we have a lovely marriage.
Depends who it is. Is it Jada Pinkett Smith?
Wow. I love you, Jada, still. I love you, Jada. Wow. I'm married to, let's say, Julie. 10 years. We have a lovely marriage, all right? But year 9 of the marriage, it's not working out anymore. Me and Julie, it's kind of going a bit, it's run its course. Right. We get a divorce. Now, Julie now marries Curtis.
No, I ain't taking your leftovers, bro. Don't give me none of that, bro. You can keep your Julie, bro.
This is the point. All right. Let's say Christopher.
Yeah.
This is where these analogies get kind of
Yeah,
difficult.
no, we're live as well,
Curtis's
bro.
missus probably watching
Sorry,
this.
sorry. There's no Julie. This is sure.
She's going to be in my phone like, yo, who's Julie, man? Who's this?
You wait till they get home. I want to know who's Julie.
All right, Julie now marries Christopher.
Yeah.
Me and Julie, I'm not slagging her off. I'm not saying she's a horrible person. I'm not saying she's a really bad wife. Sorry, she's a crap wife. It just ran its course with us.
Okay.
She's now with Christopher. They're having for Christopher. She's now proven to be an amazing wife. I'm not slagging her off. It just for me and her, just didn't. It finished, and it's the same thing. Don't tell me about what Aubameyang's doing at Barcelona.
Prematurely, though, bro.
I don't think it did.
Did they give it a chance to work?
But I think they did. For the last 18 months of his time at Arsenal, he wasn't great. And then you said to me, but he's still our top goal scorer on how many?
But you know what it is, right? I think
it's not like we sold him. If we sold him and he was banging goals, that's different.
Our alternative, Lacaz's on 4. In 4 months later.
No, just because I was saying it was right to get rid of him, I'm not saying it was right to keep Lacaz. The two are separate. I agree.
Do you agree we should have bought a replacement?
I think we tried. And I think
what about this one? What about this one? What about this one, Jordan? You're right about that. Maybe
people keep telling me about what.
It was clear that the relationship had broken down.
Aubameyang is still a top striker.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's not,
Yeah.
but at Arsenal it was done. So he was always going to go away somewhere. And my other thing as well is, if Aubameyang was on 2 goals to Barcelona, would you be quoting him to me?
No, I probably wouldn't.
Right.
No, but
So
he is.
He's not though.
My point
That's
is,
my point.
My point is, what he's doing over there, whether he scores 1 goal or 50 goals, is irrelevant. When he was here,
With respect,
he wasn't
Jordan, I don't
scoring.
think it is, and I'll tell you why. Because the way I look at this situation is that, and I've always held this view in general, right? This is a generic viewpoint of mine, is that with a lot of these, especially the more talented players, a guy like Arteta is not necessarily going to make Aubameyang a better footballer. It's all about man management. Now, if you are Arteta and you're in a situation where you've got this guy, he's your best player, because let's face it, in previous years he's been our best, without any shadow of a doubt, right? Things have happened, he's not towed the line on certain things. But I guess it comes down to, do you cut off your nose to spite your face? Do you think to yourself, you know what, I'm going to let him get us to top 4, and then in the summer, I'm saying to Josh Kroenke, listen, he needs to go.
It's not like I said. It's not like he was scoring and there was a personal difference. There was like, he's scoring, but I don't like this guy. I'm going to get rid of you. He wasn't scoring, and as Curtis said,
but I was going to go on to say, in the absence of you not getting anyone, have you not left yourself?
So that is the issue.
In a very
The issue
dangerous
isn't
position.
he's scoring at Barcelona. Should we have kept him? That for me is a dead narrative because he wasn't scoring for us. The
So
issue
before we
is-
go, let me just read out this super
Go on,
chat
go on,
here
go
from
on.
Alexander B. Thanks, Alexander, for the super chat, by the way. Not getting top 4 is inexcusable. We get champs, we attract big players and have benefit of a January where we didn't spend and got rid of Deadwood. Get 5th or below, back to languishing in Europa. So at least he thinks we're going to get 5th. But anyway, back to yourself.
The issue is, did you replace him? Now, I believe, and I have it on good authority within the club, that they tried. Vlahovic, what they tried to get him, he chose Juventus. That can happen. What he didn't want to do was just, as you say, bring in someone, because we've been here before. We've just chewed the fat, trimmed the fat of the squad of players that we didn't want because we were just buying for buying's sake. We've just got ourselves to a position now whereby we have 8 or 9, 10 players maybe who we want and like and can go forward with. We haven't got a bloated squad of men that are just not Mustafi, Socrates, who's a left back that went recently? Kolasinac, Ozil. We've trimmed the fat. Why do we want to go back into a phase where we panic by a striker? Now, look, if we don't get top 4, part of that reason will be because we didn't the goals. We're seeing at Spurs, they're scoring goals. They've got a gunman. I accept that. But I'd rather just miss out on top 4, and this is just my view, and finish 5th and wait and get the right striker in the summer rather than panic, get a striker in January, maybe still not get top 4, and you're stuck with a striker on 200 bags a week that you don't really want and can't go forward with. He didn't want to panic buy. I believe he did.
No, but
try to
let
get
me
a
just
striker
introduce
in.
another aspect to this argument, and this is something that is also I've played over in my mind, and I still quite get it. So he's let Aubameyang go. We haven't got Vlahovic, right? Now I remember it vividly. Arteta, in one of his press conferences, he was asked a question. I think I'm almost quoting verbatim, but I do remember watching. The question was put to him: with Aubameyang gone and you not getting Vlahovic or getting a replacement in, are you not concerned that you don't have enough goals in this team? And you know what Arteta said? He goes, I have no concerns. He said, well, you have Lacazette at the club and we have Eddie and Nketiah, and in those two, plus our guys in midfield, I'm confident we will get enough goals. Fast forward 2 or 3 months later, it's not playing out that way.
No. He gambled and it's backfiring. It's backfiring. I accept that. He gambled on Saka, enough goals coming from Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, Lacazette, and it's not working out that way. We may miss out on top 4. But I had a chat with Dan Lawless from West Ham Fan TV on the weekend, who said that he tweeted it'll be a failure if they don't get top 4. For me, failure is strong. Disappointing from where we were to missing out, yes. Failure, because you have to remember the original remit was not top 4. We were in a position whereby top 4 became possible, but the original remit was not top 4. So to just miss out on top 4 is disappointing, and it being Spurs getting 4th is a little bit embarrassing, granted. But that's not a failure. That's not a failure.
But from where we were at the start of January, with the position we was in, you know, we knew from last season AFCON was coming. Right, we knew we were going to have a midfield issue. We never addressed that. That's got even worse now because Partey's got injured. Like you said, the striker, we didn't get the striker done and we let Aubameyang go. Surely, even if the remit at the start of the season was not top 4, did it not become top 4 when we got to January, February? Because look at the position.
I don't think the board in January said from here on in we expect 4th. I think the talk would have been you're in a great position. I think what happened, I'm just guessing here, I think what happened is the board said to Arteta, we're in a great position now, you've done really well, do you want some money? And I think he said, yes, if you can get Vlahovic, but don't just spend money for spending money's sake. I want particular players, and if I can't get those players, I don't want just anyone here. I want the players that I want and can use.
But do you not think it was a little bit naive to just put all your eggs in that Vlahovic basket? Because I'll tell you why as well, because, and I'm no insider expert, but from what I was reading at the time, and me and Curtis talked about it on this very show, it was always obvious that Vlahovic was not going to come to us.
His agent was saying he wasn't really that interested.
His agent actually laughed. There was an interview I read where the agent scoffed when Arsenal's name, and he didn't use the term like he's more ambitious than that. Yeah, so how did you ever think you were going to get this man? Anyway, let's switch up the narrative a little bit, because Aubameyang is definitely not coming back, and at the risk of sounding like the Black Piers Morgan, which I don't want to do.
Wow, the Black Piers Morgan.
No, but that's I can just see man are going to come for me. You know what, I'm thinking it up my skin card. No man's going to come for me, but I had to let that out.
It's a conversation to be had, though, isn't it? It is a conversation.
That's the point. I think you're in the majority. I think most people do think, oh, Aubameyang's scoring goals over there. Why do we sell him? I don't think you are going to get people coming for you.
But okay, so he's not coming back and we're struggling for goals. Curtis, you're ex-pro, you're a striker no less when you were playing. How does he turn it around? How does he get this team scoring again? Can he do it?
I mean, he's got to find a way of creating more chances. We're 5th from bottom in chances created.
Should he play Martinelli up front?
I think he should try that, I do.
Should Eddie get more games? Should Laka be dropped?
Well, for me, just to answer your question there, I don't think Eddie and Nketiah is the answer. He hasn't scored this season. I don't see how Eddie and Nketiah, you go to Stamford Bridge and beat Chelsea with Eddie up front, or you beat Man United. You know, I don't see how he is the answer.
Well, to be fair to Eddie, he did look quite sharp.
Yeah, he looks lively, but I'm not being funny. When Lacazette's putting in that performance and you come on and look lively, it looks like an improvement. You know, he hasn't scored. You can hit the crossbar all you want. It doesn't get you a goal. You know what I mean? For me, you know, Laka has to get dropped.
Wow.
Also, I don't like...
Who captains the team then?
Well, they might as well pick that out of a hat, mate. It doesn't make no difference at this point.
Because Shaq already said, listen, don't...
He said, keep that away from me. I've had enough problems with that.
Yeah, don't you come near that with me.
For me now...
Teddy,
well, he's out as well, yeah. I mean, you'd have to go Odegaard, Ramsdale, Ben White, Gabriel, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't. None of them make any difference, really, without being disrespectful. To me, I would try Martinelli up front. In Lacazette and Eddie and Nketiah, you've got 2 strikers that are out of contract in 2 months' time. They're probably already talking to other clubs about moves, their agents having meetings. You know, are they going to get you in the top 4? They're out of form, they're thinking about another club. I would play Martinelli through the middle because I think now when defenders play against Arsenal, centre-backs play against Lacazette, they're thinking, this is easy work. He's going to drop deep. He doesn't shoot. Do you know a stat? This guy hasn't had a shot on target in 4 games. A shot on target in 4 games. Now, at least if Martinelli's up front, I'm thinking, do you know what? He's quick. He's going to run. He might put me on the back foot a little bit if I'm a centre-back. So I'm thinking, I've got to drop back 10 yards because of his pace and the fact he's going to look for a goal. So
let me throw something out there.
Just to kind of back up your point there. I was out of a friend of mine, Sports Liverpool, does a fan channel as well. And the night before Liverpool played Arsenal, he was in London for that game. He went out for a gym, we were just chatting about the game, and he said to me, I said, do you think you'll win tomorrow? And he said, yes. And I said, why? And he said, the main reason we'll win tomorrow is because Virgil van Dijk will go to bed tonight and sleep well. He did.
You're right.
Do you know what I mean? He said,
yeah.
Lacazette is not going to worry Virgil van Dijk at all.
Well, no, to be fair, I think
not many people worry him, to be fair, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
He said that Virgil van Dijk will not have any, he won't. We'll win the game because you haven't got a threat that's going to hurt Virgil van Dijk.
But you know what? That's one thing. But when Lewis Dunk's sleeping good as well.
Wow. Man said Dunk was like a baby.
That's a whole other story. I can tell.
I think even Danny Welbeck was like, yo, man, I'm coming.
I love it.
Oh, man. That's kind of thrown me off a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay,
Martinelli for me.
So there's a problem with scoring goals. We're not going to talk about the A word. How do we get this team scoring again? Can he get this team scoring again?
Yes, but I think we're at the point now because I'll just put it out there. I'm not convinced we beat Southampton.
Well,
it's going to be tough, isn't it?
We'll save that for a bit.
We'll get to that.
I think I'm at the point now where he may as well gamble on something different.
Yeah.
He may as well now. I don't think he's got much to lose. And
what about Martinelli up front?
Yeah, I mean, my issue with Martinelli up front would only be that I'm not sure he's quite mastered the craftsmanship of being the main man through the middle.
Yeah.
I think he's very strong coming from wide and he knows that role really well. When you're the main focal point for the middle, that's a different skill set that I'm just not quite sure he's mastered yet. But he can't be any worse than Lacazette. And I think even if he doesn't score any goals, I think he'll, as we said, occupy defenders at least.
Yeah.
I think Arteta's he's got to gamble. I mean, people like him are philosophers, so he won't. He'll try and.
He doesn't look like a man that's given to.
He's not going to go too up top on it. No,
he's not.
He's not. So I don't know what we do. I think what we have to do in terms of generally is just keep on winning, try to win games, because I think we have to make sure that if Spurs do a Spurs, you alluded to it earlier on, at least we're still close. What we don't want to happen is we get to North London derby with 7 points
away.
And
just before I go to Curtis again with another issue, I'm just going to read out this super chat from Nomad Driver, and this is addressed to you, Jordan.
Go on.
Jordan, respectfully, you're waffling. As bad as Oba's form was, he still scored more than Lacazette and Eddie for us.
But hang on,
this is our best opportunity.
Before you read on, but how many more? He was 3-4 goals more? People are talking like he was on 15 goals.
But let me just
6 goals.
Let me just say, he had 6 goals at the start of December. It's now mid to late April. So how many goals would he have had by now if he'd have carried on playing?
I would also say this, although I did say I weren't going to bring him out anymore, but I must say this, right, because it's crucial to my whole argument. My thing is, form is temporary, class is permanent. I don't think that the alleged or supposed goal drought would have lasted this long. I know that's hypothetical, but that's just my view. But anyway, we're moving on. I'll
tell you what I think it would have. I'll tell you what it would have. Because again, what Chris said, I think the 2 individuals just they fell out. So if you don't get along with your boss, it makes it harder for you to do your job. So I think the goal drought would have continued. Not because he's not good. They weren't getting along. For whatever reason, whether it's ill discipline, whatever reason, they weren't getting along. So he clearly thought, this ain't working, bro. So you might as well just cut. I'm going to sell you in the summer anyway. Just go now because I've got to protect Saka, Martinelli. I'm going to invest the time in these guys and gamble.
Those same players were very effusive of him when he left. So this so-called narrative, he was disruptive. I'm not so sure about that. But anyway, I'm trying to move off the A word.
You are, but you're not.
Let's talk about the P word now. This is another thing that we've discussed, and especially as you guys are advocating Martinelli go up front. You've got to have somebody on the flank supplying the bullets. Pepe, should he get more games? Should he start? Does he need to be more involved?
I mean, this for me is another. This is the next one that Mikel Arteta is shipping out. You know, for me, Pepe will leave this summer. I think there was a story in the Telegraph or something on Saturday saying 25 million they're prepared to cut their losses.
Massive loss.
Significant loss.
He's on. I mean, paid 72 million for him.
Have we even paid
I
off
was
the
gonna say,
insurance?
It's like layaway, isn't it? We still haven't paid it all yet. Klarna business, you know what I mean?
You know, like it's one of them. It's like one of them cars you have a really bad experience with, right?
You know what,
get it on HP.
Take it back.
Just take it, man.
Or you could do the ghetto thing and just let them take. Come take it.
Yeah, they just.
I'm not paying for it
Laurie
anymore.
just takes it in the morning. You know what I mean? I mean, listen. I always said in the first place. I know this is a different thing, but I wanted Zaha ahead of Pepe.
You did.
You know,
you did
the manager Emery actually wanted Zaha ahead of him. I mean, I've tried to defend this guy a lot. I think there's talent there. I think maybe at times he should have got more game time. But ultimately, I think eventually you've just got to look at it and say hasn't been good enough. As much as that
in
pains me
our
to
current
say.
predicament.
In our current predicament, I mean.
Do you think he's been underused? Should he get more minutes, or are you happy with the way he's been?
No, I think he should
Played
get
at the
more
moment.
minutes because when I look at that bench, I mean, it's like a daycare centre, mate. There's a bunch of kids there. I ain't heard of half of them. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not being funny. When there's 30 minutes to go and it's like, oh, Eddie's coming on, it's like, well,
We're done.
I feel like we're waving the white flag once that
Mind
happens.
you, 30's a bit optimistic. He'd be lucky if he gets 15.
Well, he came on before Pepe at the weekend.
That's true.
And I'm thinking, well, at least a few games ago, Pepe changed that Wolves game. He does have something about him that at times he can change a game
He's a
for you.
maverick player.
But I just think, again, Arteta's seen him.
I know,
It's not his kind of player.
Jordan hasn't been overly enthused.
I'm not a big fan of Pepe, and I think he will move on. I think, but I think, and going back to Aubameyang a little bit, I fear, and I say fear because I think the fan base will do this. He'll go back to France and bat it up, and you see, but that doesn't mean that we should have kept him. It wasn't working for whatever reason at Arsenal.
No, but why are these guys not working? Like listen.
No, but you say that.
We mentioned Aubameyang, we mentioned
Guendouzi.
Pepe, Guendouzi,
squad now.
Saliba. Those guys are.
All right, I'll see those players.
Wagwan.
Is Saka working out?
Yes.
Is Martinelli working out?
Yes.
Is Gabriel working out?
Yes.
Is Tomiyasu working out?
Yes.
Is Ramsdale working out?
Yes.
Is Odegaard working out?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't say that Arteta's got an issue in managing individuals.
But then my obvious comeback to you on that is, yes, that's fair enough, but why can't he manage players of, say, a slightly different personality? That's the classic thing about man management.
Yeah.
I've heard stories about Sir Alex, who I regard as the greatest manager in my lifetime, right? That I know enough about. There's documented stories about him with people like Cantona and one or two other so-called characters. He didn't get them out the door. He made them a better players while they were at United.
I agree, and that comes down to experience. And maybe the argument from the fan base that one Arteta route is, if we had a Simeone or a Conte, he'd be able to manage the majority of players rather than half the squad. So I accept that criticism. But I think that you have to look on his journey, his evolution as a manager. He'll have to learn to deal with different types of personalities. Forget Aubameyang and Pepe. The biggest example of poor man management for me is the Saliba one.
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening there. That's the one we should be focusing on.
He, by the way, just forced his way into the French squad.
He made his French debut before his Arsenal one. How does that? That's crazy.
And if he comes back in the summer after 2 years on loan and he's the player they wanted him to be after, then it'll look like it was the right decision. Let him go out and play 2 more years regular first team football. Come back in, you're next to Gabriel and or White, whatever it may be, and this guy's ready. Then cool. It looks like it worked. But it's a weird one. I've never seen a player be signed and then loaned out for 2 years after being. I've not seen that before. So that's the one I think is the best example of man management, maybe being a poor example.
I think that's the most obvious one. But if I'm being honest, man, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the Guendouzi. No, I think man management has become an issue.
Guendouzi is an easy one for me. I don't know why people put him in that category. Guendouzi clearly had an attitude problem at the club. He clearly thought he was big for his boots. He clearly thought he was the big guy.
Jordan, were you 21 once?
I'm not saying you can't make mistakes.
Do you have the same thought processes and mindset?
I've grown.
Now,
I've grown. However, do you think Arteta sent him out on loan off the basis of one indiscretion?
Probably not, no. Because even since he's been at Marseille, I've heard that a couple of times. But they've persevered with him and now he's flourishing.
Well, they have to.
These are young guys. I was 21 once, we all were. And I think back to some of the mistakes I made, and I'm thinking, rah, man.
I reckon Saka and Will Smith-Rowe
doesn't
are
mean I'm
players.
a bad guy. It just means that I've had to
you've
evolve.
learned.
Yeah.
I think our young players have all probably made a mistake at some point. The difference between them and I think Guendouzi is they learn from it. Whereas Guendouzi, I think there's probably a series of indiscretions where Arteta's thought, are you trying to learn here? Are you trying to... You get the vibe from him. I don't know the Don, but you get the vibe that he's a little bit arrogant.
He's having himself.
Yeah. It's like, bro, you've not done anything in the game
Do you know
yet.
what though? My problem with
But
it
he's
is,
a very good player.
could we have not had a situation where
Not enough
number
people pass.
one we should have either sold him for more money, or we could have brought him back. I think to sell a current French international midfielder for 9 million
Guendouzi.
is horrendous. I don't think we should have given them that price at the start. We should have left that door open and said, take him on loan, we'll talk in the summer. Because right now we'd be asking for 20, 25 million for it.
I think that's fair.
You know?
I think that's fair.
Right, guys,
But
read out
anyway,
another
go
super
on.
chat as we sort of enter into the final stretch of the show. I'm very conscious that we're coming to the end, so we've got to move on. But this is another super chat from Jaden Rinner. I'm not sure in particular who he's talking to, but I'll read it out.
Probably
You
me.
didn't want to buy a striker just to buy a striker, but Arteta brought Lokonga and Tavares, who clearly aren't ready for the league.
No, it's not, because
It is.
they were signed at the start of the season when he factored them in as part of his squad for the season incoming. To get a striker, you need a striker in January. We know that it's harder to buy the players you want in January anyway. It's easier in the summer. And the second part of that is strikers are always harder to buy than any other position on the pitch. So, and strikers are the most expensive ones as well.
Yeah.
So I think they thought, does it make sense in investing in a guy that we probably don't really want and haven't planned to get, just to get him in the door now, and next year we're not going to use him, he'll be on mad wages and he'll just be in the squad, or I'm going to gamble on the crop that I've got right now. Remember, these ties were out of both cups and there's no Europe, so I think he gambled at having, I've got enough attackers that can get the goals to get fourth.
Well,
Again,
he said
if it
exactly.
backfires,
Do you know
Goals.
what? Do you know what my response would be to that quickly and what you've said? Arteta said we've got enough with Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah. We're going to need 2 strikers this summer. If those two both leave their contract, he could have signed what I would say would have been our second choice striker in January.
But again,
who
what if he
still would probably score more goals than Lacazette
Agree,
and Eddie
but you're
Nketiah.
assuming that guy, he could have got him in January.
Well, I reckon he could have. That's just my opinion. I
And
saw
just
strikers move.
very briefly, I don't want to go into it because I want to talk about the Southampton game, but
Yeah.
we were talking about man management and we've just spoken here about Tavares. Now, listen, the way that
Poor.
guy's been handled,
Poor.
to me, that's another example of poor
And he signed it
man
as
management.
well.
Yeah,
It's not like
I mean,
being his player.
I'm looking at the substitution. You hook the guy with 35 minutes played against Forest in the Cup. I thought that was really poor. You
I
brought the
didn't
man
know
back
that.
in. Well, okay, that's for a...
The Palace one I thought was out of order.
But then the Palace one compounds to me
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what you did to him originally. And
Yeah.
now people are wondering why the guy looks a shell of himself.
And then you don't play him against Brighton and play
And I have to say as well, there was a period at the start when Tierney wasn't in, when people were saying, people who know a lot about football, some of them more than me, were saying, you know what? He looks like he could be a serious threat to Tierney because going forward, he actually looks better than Tierney.
Well,
Now, that guy has regressed seriously.
I also, yes, but I also think, and I remember saying this about a year and a half ago regarding Tierney. I said then on the show, I think it was Turkish's show, that we should maybe sell Tierney. And let me tell you why. I think Tierney's one of the top 5 left backs in the country. I think he's brilliant. But having a great player means nothing if the player can't play.
Yeah, and
So
I agree.
I think we're in a position.
I'm not saying we should sell him,
No,
but I agree with what
I don't
you
think we
said.
should sell him, but I think we have to look in the summer. Do we need to make Tierney our second choice left back and bring in a first choice
Yeah,
left
because
back?
as much
Because
as I
we
love
can't count
Tierney,
like
we
this.
all
and
do.
Partey as well.
The guy's injury prone. So the development of Tavares is actually crucial to Arsenal's long-term
I
development.
agree. I think there's a.
And yet he's been mishandled.
We have to
I
think in the summer. Do we make Tavares, invest in him as our first choice left back?
Well, we've got to
and
pick him up
Tierney
off the
second?
floor first.
Yeah, the man.
Yeah.
Hey, and
He
you know what?
literally
And
got
you-
to scrape his confidence off the
Yeah.
floor.
And you saying that, I saw a stat that Tierney's missed 50 league games
It's not
since
good.
he joined us.
That's a left
It
back.
doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not
I'm
available,
sorry,
you're no good.
I love
to-
Tierney and I think he should be the captain, but if you can't play 10 games in a row and you're a left back, come on. Your left back and full
I
back should
think
be
we've
the
got to sign.
staples.
I think we've got to sign another left back that can really challenge him. You know, I don't think Tavares can now because unless you can rebuild
He's
him
still
in
young.
the summer.
He's still young.
Tavares might need a loan.
I would
and go and
potentially
get football.
sign a first choice left back and just make Tierney your Europa League left back.
What,
Do you know what I mean?
Champions League, no?
Right, we'll get to that because I want to round off the show by coming back to that.
Yeah,
but
go on.
before I want to talk about the Southampton game for about 5 minutes. That's all it should take. But hey, we've got a super chat to read out here from Linking Fans to Football. And he's saying Pepe contributes more to Arsenal than Saka FA Cup.
I think he's saying that Pepe in that FA Cup run when we won it, he was a main part of that towards the end. I don't know if you can say he was more than Saka, but he starred in the semi-final and the final.
Listen, man, people who watch this show regularly know my stance on Pepe. I think he's been criminally underused. I think he's a real talent. I think he's a maverick player. Yes, he's not the most consistent, but then he doesn't get a lot of game time. So it's hard to expect somebody to be that consistent when they're coming off the bench for 10 minutes there, 12 minutes there, 15 minutes there. It's not like... I know that guy's got ability. I've seen it. Even the other day when he went to AFTV, he was, in a couple of games, he was lighting up the tournament. He is a good player.
The quality was poor, to be fair.
Well, you could say that, but he was doing his thing.
I think the problem with Pepe, they're just looking at it as, look, he costs so much money, the expectation is way higher. And I know you don't make your own price tag, but the owner's going to look at it and go, you're the most expensive player, and there's a guy out of the academy that's performing higher than you in terms of Saka, and that's the position he's trying to get. So
I'm not necessarily you should say he should start every game, but he should definitely have got more minutes. And now we're in the situation where we're at. He should be getting more use. He should be getting more minutes.
He's got nothing to lose.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be upset if he started him more.
Right, okay, so let's talk very briefly, because we're coming to the end of the show. Southampton. Now, this is a massive, massive game. I mean, some people are saying that this is arguably Arsenal's biggest game of the season so far. Who would have thought that a few weeks back? People would have looked at it as a routine win or one that, we're not going to lose. But now, the stakes on this game are very different. Now, Jordan, Southampton.
I don't think there's
They are in a very poor run of form. I think, we know they got stuffed last week at home, 6-0, and they've not won a game for ages. I think they've lost 4 out of their last 5, and there's been some heavy defeats in that. But can we rock up there? Because one thing I would say about Southampton, they have been beaten heavily in the past, but then they've bounced back.
Well, on that point, I think there's not a more random team in the Premier League than Southampton. They're actually a good team. And I'm saying that off the back of them being smashed 6-0. Yeah. I like Hasenhüttl, but it's becoming harder and harder for me to say that publicly when he's getting stroked at home, 6-0, 9-0, 9-0.
Last season,
You know what I mean?
But we do know that, to be fair to him, some of their players are probably on the beach. They've probably booked their hotels, and they're probably mentally they're already there. They're already in Dubai.
We said that about Brighton last week. They're already on the beach.
But the bad thing for Arsenal is that
the reaction.
They've got slapped by Chelsea.
The reaction.
There's going to be a reaction. They're not going to be as... I wouldn't have thought so anyway. Can we go there and put it on them and get a win?
No. And I know, listen, you invite me on to be honest. I know this is an Arsenal, channel.
That is right.
And I know
that's what even keeping it 100. That's not even keeping it 100.
I'm just being honest.
That's what the Americans call keeping it a thou out.
If I
He's defended Arteta all show and then said we won't beat Southampton.
I'm just being honest.
That's keeping it a thou out, man.
I can
That's keeping it 1,000.
I can do the fan thing, like, we're going to go there and win, and I can, name names, but I could do the whole deluded, we're going to win, and just talk for the sake of talking.
Why don't you think we would?
I think they're going to want to respond, first of all, after being slapped 6-0. I think I'm seeing the impetus from our team dwindling. I think the game on the weekend we had against Brighton, as you mentioned, just watching the game, we wasn't
running out of steam, aren't we, a little bit?
We are. I think the morale's dipping away. Injuries are now catching up on us. I think it'll be a draw. I hope we win. I hope we do win.
I respect the honesty.
I respect that, man.
But I just don't think we will. I'm happy to kind of people come at me and tell me, but I don't think we will. I think our season is slightly tailing off now. And I think we have to win if we're going to... I think we have to win because I think we have to get to the North London derby within 3 points of Spurs. Because then if you're within 3 points, then, okay, we have to go and beat Spurs. Yeah. My fear is that we're going to get to that game, we're going to be 6-7 points off Spurs, and the game won't really mean anything. So we have to win, if only just to keep that pressure, keep the breath.
I don't even know what to say now. He's just said that. He's thrown me off.
Sorry,
I must admit, I'm
I understand your point, though.
I'm very made up that you've been honest, but it did.
Sorry.
Me a little bit.
All right, let's go again. Right, ask me again.
Do you think that Arsenal can go to Southampton and get a win?
I think we'll win 7-0. I think we're going to go there. I think 7-0. We're going to go there. We're going to beat them up.
Backlash.
We're Arsenal, innit?
2 hat-tricks, one from Eddie, one from
Lacazette hat-trick.
And people will turn around and say, what was all the fuss about?
Spurs will lose. We're going to beat them up. 7-0.
Curtis, keep it a thou out. Can we go to Southampton and put it on them and come away with a result? And when I say result, I'm not
any type of win, innit? It don't even matter. It don't have to be 3-4-0. We'll just take
1-0 in the 94th minute.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Comes off Lacaz's backside in the 89th minute. You take that,
That's
right?
probably the only way to score right now. He'll have to stop twerking in the penalty area. Twerkazette's back. That's the only way.
We should laugh.
That's all we can do is laugh right now, bro. You know what I mean? Do you know what? Probably them losing 6-0 is probably the worst thing that could happen to us. Isn't it, really? Because
you know what I'm envisaging in my mind? I was saying this to Robbie yesterday. I could see someone like Xhaka bringing down one of their forwards in the first 10 minutes. Up steps Ward-Prowse, and I'm not going to,
he doesn't miss, does he? No, listen, I say every week, this is a must-win, it's a must-win. Every game is a must-win for us. And look, if we lose to Palace, Brighton and Southampton, let's be real, we don't deserve 4th.
No.
In reality, we don't, because they're teams that you should be beating. A lot of them haven't got anything to play for. No. They're not going to get Europe, they're not going to get relegated, they're going through the motions. But
their fans and their manager, he will demand a performance.
He will demand a performance. What Arsenal have to do is we have to use that 6-0 to our advantage. If we go there and score first, quiet down the crowd, all of a sudden that 6-0 comes back to them defenders' mind. Oh, damn, it's happening again. If we go there, the crowd's rocking and they score first, they're going to use that energy against us. So, you know,
I don't know St Mary's to be that kind of raucous
not
stadium.
Really. No.
But again, to my point about the Palace and preparing the team for the Palace game, Arteta's got to tell the guys to expect the fans to be, from the get-go, they're going to be on it. They want a reaction. So we have to ride that first 10-15 minutes. Yeah. Just shut them up. Just shut them up. Don't do nothing stupid. No stupid red cards. No dumb decisions. Just keep it steady. Get to half-time 0-0. Yeah. Cool. Just be in the game.
Do you know what? I wanted to ask you both something. What does he do at left-back for this game? Because if you leave Xhaka there, he's just... It didn't work.
It didn't work.
Can you put Tavares there? Is his confidence too low?
I think he'll do neither. I think he'll go Suarez left-back. And I think he'll go Ben White.
Rob Holding.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I think he'll do.
I saw a lot of people saying that, yeah. That changes your whole defence.
To me, that's wrong. I think the emphasis should be on attacking. Listen, man, we're playing Southampton.
Yeah.
We're not
we should be
Liverpool
going for
City. We should be
going
there positive.
Win. Yeah. So if you lose, you draw.
I'd be disappointed if he goes down that route. Me personally, I'm putting Xhaka where he's supposed to be in midfield, and I'm saying to Tavares, I'm saying, listen, Tavares, you've had a rough time, but I believe in you, son. I brought you to the club. You can do it.
But is that a bit unfair now? If he brings him back in for what is arguably the game of the season for us, is that unfair?
I think he has to.
I think he probably has to. Yeah. It's just, on paper, you would have thought Brighton at home was an easier game to play him than Southampton away.
And if it's also down to me, I'm also going to say to Lac, as much as I love him, say, listen, man, I've stood by you all this time. I gave you the captaincy, but it's not quite working out. You probably will get some game time, but let me try something.
Do you think his job's on the line? In terms of if he finishes...
Hey, I'm answering the question.
Sorry.
Listen, this is talk. If he wants to ask questions,
I'm just thinking, because maybe I'm a negative person, but I'm just thinking if this goes badly in the next couple of games, let's say we draw with Southampton, and then who's next? Is it Chelsea or
Chelsea?
It's Chelsea next. Let's say we lose that game, then it's West Ham.
West Ham away.
Let's say we draw that one.
And it's Man United.
Let's say we draw that one and we end up finishing 6th. Is that a conversation you think then where his position is under threat?
His job, in my opinion, is not on the line this season. It might be amongst the fans, but amongst the Kroenkes.
So I'm asking you two fans, do you think it should be?
I think it should be.
If they finish 6th?
Yeah. Even fifth. Yeah, even fifth.
Really?
Fifth and sixth to me looks the same. It's Europa League.
No, but the nuance surely is the target was 6, and to just miss out on 4th.
Yeah, I don't.
I'll give you one.
For me, I'm changing that.
I'll put the question back on you.
Go on.
Do you think now that he'll get that contract extension that we were hearing?
Yes.
So we're not even talking about
Yes.
it. Do you think he should do?
No.
Because
That
How long has he got
contract
left?
it
On his
finishes
current one?
next year. So he's got a year this summer.
Oh, that's different then. Then I do think it is. I think if you're saying this is our guy, you have to make him believe that the next 2 years you're with us. I think the year thing is that there's uncertainty, and I think that may play out in how he manages the team. If he knows he's potentially only got a year left, he may not be all in terms of him as a manager. If you give him an extension, now has he earned it or not? We can debate that. But I think
I'm not in favour of
wouldn't
it.
give
And
it.
I'll tell you why as well. And this is something that we did speak very briefly about before we went live on air, is that it's inevitable that in the summer there's going to be a managerial merry-go-round. There are names going to crop up, and there's bound to be a few good names in there. So if we don't get top 4, say, hypothetically, and these names crop up, are you going to think, whoa, boy, are you going to miss out, say, on a potential really good manager and keep a man that...
like who?
No, I'm just saying hypothetically.
But who's out there? I'm just interested to know.
I'm saying that come the summer...
Who are the people that you're saying we could potentially be looking at to replace him? I don't know. There's not many that I know.
I mean, at a push, I couldn't really give you any names. I mean, obviously there's people like Pochettino and people like that, but he's not really going to come to Arsenal. But, you know, there's going to be managers that are going to leave clubs.
I wouldn't sack him this season regardless, even if he's 6th. But I would say next season, this season we're in right now, the remit was not 4th. It was get back into Europe. Next year, let's say we finish 5th this season. Next year, the remit is, as long as there's money to back it up, we expect 4th. Now, we have to also understand that finishing 4th would be overachieving. If Arsenal finish 4th next season,
I would agree
that's
with that.
overachieving.
Let me
That's
just
punching above your
just
weight.
quickly give you my point, what I was trying to allude to. For me, why I would consider letting him go if we don't get 4th. The remit was top 6 start of the season. However, Man United's season spiralled out of control, sacked their manager, Ralph's come in, they've gone, to be honest, they've gone. They're not even bothered about getting 4th the way they're playing, yeah? You look at Tottenham at the start of the season, Nuno in charge, they didn't spend well in the summer, their fans were going crazy, we slapped them at the Emirates. They sacked their manager halfway through, they bring in Conte, all of a sudden, in half a season, he's turned that club all the way around and got 4th. We've had our manager, this is his 3rd season, so we've had the most stability out of those 3 clubs going into this top 4 race. I think 4th gets harder and harder to achieve next season, the season after, than it is this season. So even though the remit was top 6, the way we were in January, 4th was in our hands, and it was in our hands probably a week ago. And we've kind of thrown it to Tottenham and said, you have it. To me, number one, I think that's embarrassing that your biggest rivals get top 4 despite not as much investment and change in manager. And 3 years in charge, 250 million spent, and the best you're getting me is a Europa League spot. For me, I don't think the process is working and not quick enough for a club of this size.
Right, guys, I've got to stop you there. I've got to read this super chat from El Paso. Chances are created for ABBA in Barca. Simple. Right, so, okay.
Here we go again.
Another 10 minutes over. We're going to move on from Aubameyang though.
Hey, listen,
we're going to move on.
he's not in
He knows
control
what he's
of
doing.
the
He knows what he's doing, you know. He knows what he's doing.
He's saving them.
No, that was a super chat, right?
Laurie just wrote that on his phone, you know what I mean? I said, no, 5 more minutes.
Right, okay, we've got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this debate. And like I said to you people, there's a few more super chats coming in. Okay.
There we go.
Maybe
Another
one from
Aubameyang.
William.
Laurie's wrote it.
Aubameyang's brother.
Oh, they're not coming up on it, you know. I'm not able.
I'll read it for you.
Cyrus, yeah.
Okay, go on.
Can you see it?
No. I can
All I can
imagine
see-
what it says.
No, it's not coming up. No. Thanks, Cyrus, anyway. Maybe send it again. But 2 quick questions before we have to wrap it up, because we're coming up to an hour we've been on now. And I'll start with you, Curtis. 2 quick questions. Your prediction for the Southampton. Don't just say Arsenal going to win, lose or draw. Give me a score. So what's your prediction?
I'm going to say we'll scrape it 2-1.
2-1.
Because
right.
I just think we have to. But a lot will be down to the team selection. If he picks that same team that we had at Brighton, I think it'll be a long afternoon. Southampton will go for us.
Yeah.
If you're Ralph Hasenhüttl, you're going to say, they're a little bit weak right now. This could be, you know what I mean? So I think we've got to score.
So that's 2-1 to us.
Go 2-1.
In terms of our placement for the season, what are you saying? Will we get top 4 or what do you think?
I think we'll finish 5th, probably 5th.
So outside the top 4.
I think we'll finish
5th,
outside the top 4, yeah.
And you've already said you're not going to be particularly happy with that. No. Right, Jordan, you've said you predicted a possible loss, but then are you sort of...
I think it'll be a draw. No, I think it'll be a draw.
You'll be a draw.
I think 1-1.
So you're losing your bottle on that one.
Did I say
we were just commending you.
I didn't say lose. Did I say
we were just commending you for keeping it a 1,000.
Did I say lose?
Saying it's a point gained.
Yeah. No, but to be fair, you did say you did think we'd win. Yeah, you did say that. You did say that. Right, so in terms of top 4, can we get it?
No, we can, but I don't think we will.
You don't think we will? And if we do finish 5th or 6th, you think that's okay, given in the wider scheme of things?
As long as we don't, again, nuance, finishing 5th, missing out on 4th by 3 or 4 points. Finishing 5th and missing out by 7, 8, 9 points, you're nowhere near. I think it's disappointing considering where we were. It was because it was ours to grab, but I don't think it's a failure. I think failure is a harsh word considering the initial remit. Disappointing, a bit embarrassing, but I don't think it's failure. But I'll be putting on
not something that would warrant him getting the sack.
No.
Okay, that's fair enough. Another super chat's just coming in from Jasha Josiah, and he says Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, Odegaard, TT, that's Tierney I would imagine, Ramsdale don't have the personality to rock the boat and tell Arteta about himself. Remember righty Bruce Rioch settings. I do remember that actually. I do remember that. But hey, that's a bygone era. But those 2 questions to myself, I firmly think that we will bounce back. I think Southampton.
Is that head or heart?
No, that's in my head.
Okay.
I do think that we'll nick a win at Southampton. It probably won't be pretty, but
Tell me why.
I think we need it a bit more than them. We have to win, as Curtis said.
But again, as Curtis said, that was applicable on Saturday.
But I think that, to be fair, Southampton are in a worse headspace than Brighton.
I think they're just below them in the league, aren't they? About 3-4 points there.
Coming into this game off the back of a 6-0 rout at home to Chelsea can't be good. Your players are clearly on the beach. The manager's got a lot to do. Yes, he's got to put a rocket under them and say, listen, but we need it, whereas they don't need it as much. And I think that might be the difference. Okay. Should be a good game though, put it that way. In terms of top 4, I would have to agree with you. It's not looking likely. I think the main difference is that Tottenham, who are the forerunners at this point, they're scoring for fun right now. And you look at the players, they look like they're enjoying their football. They're on a run. They're clearly on a run. Football's like a lot of sports, about momentum. They've clearly got it. We haven't. So I would say I'm leaning towards Spurs. Although if we beat Southampton and, you know what I mean, claw back the 3 points at some stage with a game in hand, you never know. So I'm not writing us off completely. But yeah, it's looking like Spurs for top 4. But if we do get top 6, and this is where I disagree slightly with my man Curtis, I would say that would have been the target at the start of the season. Because you've got to remember, we're coming off 2 back-to-back 8th place outside of Europe. I would have regarded European football as the minimum. I'm pretty sure that was the target. So if he's met the target, it would kind of be unfair to sack him.
And a lot of fans say it's us dropping our standards and what happened to our fan base. And it's like, no, it's just being realistic. It's 6 is not, I'm not happy with 6 or 5th. That's not where we should be. We have to understand there are 4 teams in this league that generally spend more than us, that have better managers than us. And that's why I say 4th, it shouldn't be the expectation. Man United should be 4th. Man City should be 4th. Top 4. Liverpool should be top 4, and Chelsea. Those are the 4 teams that when you put all in the pot, those are the 4 that should be top 4. And when you think that Spurs have got one of the best number 9s in the world and one of the best managers in the world, you could arguably say they should finish above Arsenal. So when you put it like that, Arsenal shouldn't be finishing top 4, which is why I was saying next year to finish 4th, you'd have to overachieve. You'd have to come above one of those 5 teams. And technically, we shouldn't. We could talk about we're Arsenal. But what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that really mean?
Curtis, I'm gonna.
Sorry,
I can see you wanting to.
I want to end.
Be very brief though. We got to wrap it up.
No,
sorry, Brendan. Sorry, man. Sorry.
No, because I get what you're saying. Listen, for me, if Man United finished fourth, I would have been able to get my head around that because I would have said they got so much individual brilliance. I can understand it, but Spurs, you got to remember when Auba left, Kane was only 1 goal ahead of him. All of a sudden, he's turned his season around. In a half a season, people going, what's happened to Kane? He's only got 5 goals. Son wasn't playing that well. And you say they've got a better manager than us. They chose that better manager. We could have gone for that manager. That manager was out of work. But we've chosen to stick with this manager. So it's by choice and design.
There you have it, people. You see, this is why we got these guys on the show, man. Great content. Really enjoyed it, man. Thanks very much for coming in, bro.
Yes, big up, bro.
Yes,
listen, guys, you've heard it here. They've been very open, very honest. They've kept it 1,000. What can I say? It's down to you guys. Let us know what you think in the comments. One thing I would say is that if Arsenal on Saturday can match the passion, energy and intensity that these guys have shown...
And quality.
Not to mention quality, they will have a real good chance of beating Southampton. So listen, thank you very much for tuning in. Truly appreciate your support. Keep yourselves healthy, well, safe. COVID-free. And we'll see you guys. Well, I would say that, but I ended up catching it. So, you know what I mean? But anyway, thanks very much for watching. Really enjoyed the show. Hope you have too. See you guys next week.